So let me ask you guys this question seriously before I move on to other subject matter. Anywhere in there, as people are celebrating Trump, as Iran talks fall apart, and he's telling Dana White, "Hey, put Derek on the card," and
loves Derek Lewis, by the way,
and Dana White just makes a phone call and then makes Freedom 250 is going to be on the White House lawn. The whole thing's grotesque. I mean, it's the carnival, it's the circus, and it's come to mainstream, and it's fun and crazy and interesting. The fights are interesting. What about the other stuff? What do you guys do with the other stuff? Like there isn't another sport where somebody, the president of the United States says, "Hey, let those two teams play," and that's what I want to watch.
What I do with it is I try to ignore it. I didn't watch this card, but I've been at the card before when Donald Trump, once in New York and once in Miami, and I don't like it. I don't like Donald Trump, but I do what so many on the right say I had to do, which was, just keep my mouth shut and power through that stuff that they were incapable of when Colin Kaepernick was, say, taking a knee before. But whatever, it's part of the sport, but also it seems to be catching up to the UFC. It straight up does.
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to go, you may want to gloss over the gate. The gate was down big. And
but is the gate down at a bunch of fights lately?
The gate was down on this one because there wasn't a ton of big names.
Okay,
right?
They released that Donald Trump was coming a day before to try to drive people to this. And if you see what Dana White is doing publicly and in the press conferences with him trying to distance, he actually claimed that his speeches at the Republican National Convention are not political, that he's not a political person. He is very clearly getting a message internally from TKO, hey, we have staked out this corner plot. We are the sport for MAGA conservatives. And that's fine. You can do that. You can appeal to that. But what that sport does in ways that others don't is it makes people that disagree with those policies feel very unwelcome because these are straight up pep rallies for Donald Trump, have been. And it's a lot.
The gate at this one was under $10 million. They look, I'm going to go through the history.
He gets an entrance to Kid Rock's American Badass when he's attending the CFP National Championship game. He doesn't get that.
Oh, and at WWE, which is also owned by TKO, it's a completely different response that the president gets. Like, when that originally happened, I think TKO thought that, whenever the president is shown or introduced or whatever, that it was going to be very similar, and they were sorely mistaken.
I remember I was at the WrestleMania in Las Vegas last year. I'm not going this year, but last year, Dana White voiced one of the intro videos, and people recognizing his voice booed him.
And
anytime he was
audience.
shown on the screen, he was booed.
Yep.
There's a difference between allowing the president to attend your event and making an entire show about an obvious show of support for the president. At that point, you can't say that you're not a political organization. And this time, at this point in time, Donald Trump's fragile ego definitely needed to be seen by a sporting company that is normalizing him, putting him out there, having this grand entrance next to Dana White to cheers, if there is a group of people on this planet that'll cheer that man at this point in time, it's there. That is the administration using sport the same way that Cuba used the baseball team, to Dan's point. That is propagandizing, and they are a very convenient bedfellow, but it is going to catch up to the UFC.
Let me show you a little more of this history here, okay? And I will say this again as someone who loves the fights. I do. I always have. Everybody here makes fun of me. They make fun of me because I do like the science of these barbaric, toughest men in the world challenging each other, and what they risk is just it's really brave. Like, they're vulnerable in front of a lot of people, and you always risk an eternal embarrassment at the thing you care about most, because you cannot sleep on the guy with the torn ACL, because that cage is primitive and those people are assassins. They are obviously trained fighters. So I really respect the toughness of all of that. I also respect the story of this sport. Dana White signing contracts in back alleys, like the Fertitta brothers, like barely hanging on to make this a legitimate league because of how hard it is. And he needs Forrest Griffin to have a barbaric fight in a reality TV series because the thing he cares about most, he's so close to running the fighting games. He cares about boxing, cares about combat sports. Carnival Barker knows how to promote, knows how to fight with Oscar De La Hoya in public, knows how to be everything he's been, which includes being a man who can hit his wife in public and still run his league because the power is concentrated now at the top, and he's gotten to the very top of power. He had to climb over John McCain. They had to climb over an assortment of things that made them too barbaric, too primitive for America. And now look where they've arrived. The victory for Dana White is he couldn't get Skipper to sit next to him at a fight because Disney wouldn't sign off on this. And then Disney needs him, and he parlays all of that into money and power, and you get to the top of sports where you can hit your wife and there are no consequences because you can tell TKO what to do because you have value to the streaming services. He's won. This is the biggest mainstream victory that he could possibly have at the center of America. Like, he couldn't have imagined in fiction any scenario that haven't had his sport being this legitimized. But they deserve each other at the center of America as Iran war talks fall apart while he's doing this, and we seem to be following a delirious king into something close to nuclear warfare. Like all of it, I don't know. How do we get from hey, keep Kaepernick, keep it to sports, to this? It's going to be on the White House lawn. Like, it is
they haven't historically done well with hypocrisies when it comes to this. You cannot be super pro, I love what UFC is doing with the president, and be stick to sports guy. You can't. And the thing is, I know a lot of people try to be, and it's just stick to my type of politics.
But all I'm saying is once you put this sport on the White House lawn, what you're saying is this is America. When the polling shows, no, it's not. All of the polling shows, whatever you say about voting, all of the polling shows, no, this man being made into a figure that gets to be the mad king of not a democracy who just gets to declare war on whoever he wants while Florida gets the UFC license plates and blocks our view of the Freedom Tower with a library that's not a library.
We're probably going to get aggregated somehow. Some conservative talking head is going to take issue with this, and the allegation is going to be, look at the Le Batard Show talking about Trump again. And we are talking about Donald Trump because the guy basically has pyro at a UFC event during his entrance. They make it unavoidable. They have picked their side, and we'll see how that plays out as history will reflect on this administration. They're going to reflect back on how convenient an ally the UFC was throughout this. And I think if you see I know they have a whole new partnership, a broadcasting partnership that since that was signed, and I'm sure they're privy to some numbers behind the scenes, there has been some sort of messaging relayed to Dana White, ease up. But when the president calls you on this weekend where he's at an all-time low with approval numbers, Dana White's not saying, all right, well, let's cool it. He's bringing his good buddy in, at one point hand in hand, walking him into the UFC to a hero's welcome. That is not something the other leagues do when the president attends their sporting events. You are being used. Now, you may think that you are using Donald Trump too, but the internal numbers that you're getting, they're showing you this is not a winning proposition over time, and they're going to find that out real quick.
And you shouldn't be surprised that he views it as a reflection of America, because the only reflection of America he sees is internal. It's his. He views himself as a religious figure. That's why over the course of Easter weekend, he's posting AI images of himself as Jesus and criticizing the Pope for being weak on crime. Look at the screen right now. That is a real thing Donald Trump posted of himself across this holy time. It's maddening. It's asinine. It doesn't make any sense that these are things that we're comfortable with, and we're not. But that same conglomerate that's okay with saying, hey, stick to sports on one end and UFC being welcomed on the White House lawn on the other, that group of people, his pulpit, seem to be okay with just about anything. We'll see how far he can continue to push it.
A talking point that I often see from those that disagree with the views that I have is, well, you live in an echo chamber. Number one, I live in Miami, Florida. No, I don't. All right. I went to Christian school. I have plenty of lifelong friends. This is something that I navigate daily. I do not. I am a UFC fan. I cannot avoid this stuff. I literally had to, and I tried to see what happened in the fight, and it was all Donald Trump stuff. It is a unique point in time. He needed the UFC here. Donald Trump did not attend the Super Bowl. You know why? Donald Trump was told he'd get booed at the Super Bowl. Donald Trump didn't go to John Cena's final match. Why? Because wrestling fans are a little bit more progressive, and he would have been met with boos. He wants to live in this echo chamber. He wants to go into rooms and align himself with organizations that guarantee he's going to get the American Badass intro, and everybody's going to be happy to see him. That is distorted reality. That is not real. That's actually what an echo chamber looks like.